we're going to look at the best ETF for long-term investing in terms of price growth, low volatility, and diversification across sectors and geographies. So to find my ETF, I go to the excellent screener within the justetf.com website, and I select world for my region, and I select over 500 million for the fund size. And then when I pull up all the ETFs, I can select my columns here, and then what I'm going to sort on is return over risk on a 5-year period. That's essentially taking this number, the 5-year growth, and then looking at that annualized compared to this volatility, which is saying is risk, divide one by the other. And at the top, we've got this TDGB, Vaneck Morningstar Developed Markets Dividend Leaders with a return over risk of 1.75, the maximum drawdown in the last 5 years. So that's the most you could have lost if you'd bought at a peak and then sold at a trough, and that would have been 11.39%. So we've got a combination of excellent performance and pretty much the lowest drawdown of what we're looking at here. And when we scroll down, we can see some other kind of similar ETFs like this Vanguard high dividend yield, but it's had a lot less price growth. Some have done one in terms of price growth like energy, also maybe things like gold, but they're incredibly volatile with a lot larger drawdowns. So the criteria for inclusion in the Vaneck Dividend Leaders ETF is that companies must have paid a dividend during the last 12 months. They must have proper income from profits rather than real estate investment trusts and their rental income. They must have a 5-year dividend growth rate of 0% or higher, and they must have sufficient earnings to cover their dividends over the next year. And what Vaneck does is it combines with Morningstar analysts to come up with which companies should be in this ETF. So it's kind of semi-active, so it's partly using kind of like passive data for it, and then it's also got this overlay of what the Morningstar analysts think in terms of estimated earnings. And now here's the fact sheet. The ETF's been going since 2016, net assets of over 6 billion euros, expense ratio 0.38%, so quite expensive, but I think it's kind of justified by the performance and by what's really going on in this ETF. And the companies are selected according to the dividends that they pay out rather than their market capitalization. So it's got 100 holdings in it. P ratio is now over 15%. It used to be a lot lower. And then we've got the country breakdown here. US underweight relative to a global tracker at only 24%, UK overweight at 11%. And then here are the top 10 holdings. Some oil companies like ExxonMobil, Shell and Total, consumer staples like PepsiCo, we've got some healthcare like Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer. So fairly diversified, but no tech in there. Now here's a little summary of the holdings, countries and sector exposure. So this is an income fund with kind of a value tilt to it. We've got the dividend yields here. They have varied a bit, 5% at times, 4% at other times. Dividends a little bit up and down. I think 2023 was possibly bumper dividends from oil companies. And now when we compare those dividends to what Vanguard is saying is high yield, then they're actually much higher in the Vaneck ETF. So there are a couple of drawbacks to this fund. It's only available in an income variant. There is no accumulation version of this fund. The dividend is paid in euro, so you'll need to convert that. And the ETF is based in Holland, so it has a 15% withholding tax on dividends. But if we look at the 5-year performance compared to a global tracker, then Vaneck Developed Markets Dividend Leaders has been very impressive. Over a 3-year period, not quite so good, but there is a noted divergence in recent months. partly since the Iran war, but then even leading up to that, the Vaneck dividend leaders has been powering upwards, whereas global trackers have been stalling. And the Vaneck dividend leaders is definitely less volatile than a global tracker, maybe partly due to its value nature. So now if we look at Vaneck dividend leaders in the excellent website Pick a Fund, it comes within the global equity income category, and compared to its active peers, it's ranking 6th out of 118 over a 1-year period and 2nd out of 97 over a 5-year period. And if you want to know which ranks number 1 in that category, then watch this next video.